The events of this story took place during the late 90s, the days of the ancient internet, as I like to call it. I was in high school and a major fan of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I saw the midnight screening almost every weekend at the local theater and eventually became part of the cast that performed along with the movie. I was most definitely a major Frankie fan, as they say. Anyway, during my junior year, I met this guy online in the now-defunct chat room for RHPS fans known as the Zen Room. Like I said, this was in the days of the ancient internet. We had a lot in common. We lived in the same city, we were both in high school, and we liked a lot of the same movies and bands. Soon we were emailing each other and chatting on AOL Messenger every day. It's embarrassing to admit now, but I was crushing on this boy hard, and I hadn't even met him face to face yet. After a couple of weeks of online flirtation, he suggested we meet at this coffee shop that was known as a hangout for teenage freaks like us. I immediately said yes. He said we should ditch school tomorrow and meet there for lunch around 11 a.m. I was game and told him what I'd be wearing, and he did the same. I was so excited to be meeting this guy that I barely slept that night. Morning rolled around and I made it to the cafe about 10 minutes ahead of schedule. I ordered a cappuccino and sat at one of the tables near the front window so I could have a view of the parking lot. I wanted to be able to spot him as he approached the entrance. I can still remember the smell of that coffee and how much I was squirming in my seat in anticipation. I know, I was lame. My gaze was so focused on the parking lot beyond the window that I didn't see or hear the man approaching. It was only when he pulled back the other chair at the table so he could sit down that I finally became aware of his presence. He was old enough to be my dad, and he was looking at me in a way that both creeped me out and made me want to vomit. I then noticed the jacket he had on. It was the same color and style as the one my crush had described to me. Had I been talking to this pervert all this time? I was taken aback, and before I could say anything, he leaned across the table and whispered, "You should be careful about talking to strangers online." He then stood up and quickly exited. I sat there, too shocked to say or do anything at first. Then I stood up and made my way over to the counter. I asked the barista if the man who just left had ever been in here before, and if she knew who he was. She gave me a really confused look. "What man?" she asked. I told her some strange man had just been at my table a few seconds ago. "I don't know what you're talking about," she replied. "You're the only person who's been in here the past hour." I never heard from the man ever again. Not that I wanted to. I was thoroughly freaked out by the whole experience. To this day, I don't know what to make of the encounter. Where had the man come from, and what had been his intention? Just to give me a good scare? Maybe. All I know for certain is I was a lot more careful about what I shared online and who I agreed to meet after that.